Are you fed up with Washington? I sure am. My name is John Krom, and it seems to me that our government is spending more and more of our money and even borrowing money from the Chinese, and yet things seem to get worse and worse. The good news is, according to the Labor Department, we, the American people, are becoming more productive. Our productivity has increased 23% in the last 10 years. The bad news, also according to the Labor Department, is that our wages, adjusted for inflation, are actually down in the same period of time. Our productivity is up 23%, but wages are down? If we're not getting paid for our increased productivity, where is all that money going? Well, you don't have to be a Sherlock Holmes to figure that out. The Washington Post reports that 5 of the 10 wealthiest counties in America surround Washington, D.C. Over the past 12 years, Washington has spent $12 trillion more than it's taken in. $12 trillion is an enormous sum of money. If you were asked to count out 12 trillion $1 bills, one each second, 24 hours a day, it would take you 380,000 years. 380,000 years. But yet our government has spent the same amount of money over its budget in 12 years? And they tell us that they're spending that to stimulate the economy and create jobs. We know how that's working out. Here's how Washington really works. Say there is a proposed bill before Congress that would cost $1 billion. And your part of the cost is only $4. Even if you don't support the bill, do you think you'll go to Washington to try to convince Congress not to pass the bill? Not for $4. But let's also say that there are 5 special interest groups that will benefit from this bill to the tune of $200 million apiece. Do you think they'll go to Washington to try to influence Congress to pass the bill? Well, the truth is they don't have to because they're already there. And their lobbyists probably have co-authored the bill. So when the bill's passed, the special interest groups benefit, and the lobbyists benefit, and the bureaucrats in Washington get paid well to administer the bill, and our representatives and senators, well, they get nice contributions from the special interest. Now, of course, this isn't quid pro quo, you scratch my back and I'll scratch yours, That would be illegal. But somehow the politicians always seem to end up with that political contribution from the special interest groups. And what do you and I get? Well, we get some nice speeches from Washington, and we get the bill. Fortunately, your portion of that $1 billion piece of legislation that was passed is only $4. Unfortunately, Congress spends a lot more than $1 billion each year. As a matter of fact, they've averaged over 3,000 times that much. Your portion of that is $12,000 each and every year. Politicians and special interest groups work hand in hand. Look at this. This is a printout from the Federal Elections Commission of campaign contributions to Susan Brooks, our current representative from the 5th District in Indiana. All these contributions are from PACs, political action committees, special interest groups. Let me name some of them here for you. Here's the American Bankers Association. Bankers love Congress because Congress used our money to bail them out. They gave Susan Brooks $1,000, another $1,000, and another $1,000. Anheuser-Busch Companies, $2,500. Associated Builders and Contractors, $2,500, $1,000, $1,500. Then they gave her another $2,500. AT&T. They gave Susan Brooks $1,000, then $1,500, then another $1,000, and then another $1,500. I'll remember that the next time I pay my AT&T bill. And look, here's John Boehner. John Boehner, the Speaker of the House, gave Susan Brooks $2,000. Well, I guess that makes sense since he and the Republican caucus have been able to count on her vote over 97% of the time. Here's Comcast, Duke Energy, ExxonMobil, General Electric, General Motors. Our politicians bailed out General Motors with hundreds of billions of dollars, still own over 26% of the GM stock, and now GM is giving money to Susan Brooks and other politicians. Politicians use our money to bail out GM, and then GM gives money to the politicians. I guess that pretty well completes the circle, doesn't it? Except, of course, you and I are left out. You know, I could go on and on about all these campaign contributions from PACs to Susan Brooks and how it influences what Congress does. There's 22 pages. Representative Brooks was asked in an interview with Current newspaper of Noblesville she was going to run again. Her reply was, "That's the game plan, yes. I certainly learned as a freshman it's a fairly seniority-based system in terms of committee assignments and truly just in terms of building relationships so that you can be an influence. In other words, go along to get along, to climb up the ladder." And who knows, if Susan Brooks eventually becomes a committee chair, maybe she'll get a lot more of this PAC money so that she can influence other congressmen by donating to them, just like John Boehner is donating to her. I used to be a Republican because I thought they were the party of small government. That's what they say. But in the past 12 years, the Republicans have controlled the House of Representatives, which is where bills must originate, but yet our federal debt has increased from $5 trillion to over $17 trillion. So the Republicans really are the source of the problem. And that's not all. The Republicans controlled the White House, the Senate, and the House of Representatives 4 of those 12 years. And our debt still increased $2.2 trillion. That's over $7,000 for every man, woman, and child. The Republicans, party of small government? I don't think so. We need to watch what they do and not what they say. I'm sorry to sound so cynical about our government, but the more I study how it operates, the uglier it gets. Government spending is mortgaging the future of our children and grandchildren. And when it comes time to pay the piper, their standard of living will plummet. This is not only just wrong, it's immoral. And I, for one, am not going to stand by and just watch it happen. I'm taking action. I joined the Libertarian Party, and I'm running for Congress from the 5th District of Indiana. Libertarians stand for liberty. We believe in personal freedom coupled with individual responsibility. We believe in small, limited government, only large enough to protect us from those who would use force to harm us or our property, but yet small enough not to usurp its authority. And boy, our government's really usurped its authority. We need to rein in agencies such as the National Security Agency, FBI, IRS, EPA, FDA, and others. These agencies should be protecting our constitutional rights, not molesting them. Our founding fathers meant for your vote to be a peaceful revolution. If we all use our votes to revolt, we can change Washington and get rid of this special interest influence and cronyism. If you agree that we need to rein in the federal government, I would appreciate your vote this November. But if we're going to overcome the influence of special interest money, I need more than your vote. I need you to be an advocate for me. To go on Facebook and like this website, or to email your friends and ask them to come to this website. And then secondly, if you can, I ask you to contribute to my campaign. Your contribution, regardless of how small, is critical, because I'll not accept the PAC money and the special interest money that Susan Brooks has. And then thirdly, if you can, I ask that you volunteer to pass out literature in your neighborhood or a neighborhood nearby. You know, I'll not have the special interest money that Susan Brooks already has, so I'll probably not be able to advertise on TV and radio and newspaper. But if we have hundreds of volunteers like you who are willing to pass out literature that encourages people to go to our website and join us, then we can mitigate the influence of her special interest money. And then finally, and this is the easiest request of all, I ask you to do nothing. What I mean is, if you're asked to participate in a political poll, please decline. Because if our campaign is doing well, and the polls show that our campaign is doing well, then the National Republican Committee and maybe even the Democratic National Committee will spend so much outside money on this campaign that every time you turn around you'll be seeing a political ad, and I don't think we want that. Thanks for your time, but don't stop here. Please, be an advocate. Ask your friends to visit this website. Donate if you can. Volunteer if you can. And of course, do nothing when it comes to political polls. Thanks again. May God bless you and bless all that you hold dear.